Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld. In the previous episode we had a special for episode 100 where we built and launched a rocket, our very first rocket. So now up in the top corner there we have our score, which is for some reason broken. I'm going to guess it's something to do with the fact that this save is quite old. It's been around since, I don't know, 0.10 or something? 0.9? Probably not that. Somewhere around that. It's been around too long for the game to be able to deal with rockets, basically. It was the rocket defense that used to be the end game thing, and apparently, because the changes were brought in since the save was made, it's made it so that it doesn't display properly. That's my guess. I have no idea if that's right. I could be completely and totally incorrect, and it's something else entirely. But I think normally it just displays it properly and says score and rocket sent 1 rather than the unknown key comments. But anyway, our work here is done now, pretty much. I'm just checking up on the factories and stuff, making sure the supplies of things are decent. Some things are better than others, like the steel is running out a little bit, but mostly things seem fine, and hopefully when we leave this place, it'll continue to manufacture rockets. We do have enough material being brought in that every time we launch a rocket we can also build a silo for it, but for the moment I'll just let the current silo be set up again with a new rocket, and in future we'll start working on adding in extra silos. And I'm not going to be launching like a rocket every episode or anything like that, even, like whether I'm able to achieve that or not with the production rate the factory has. But what I'm going to do instead is just like build up a nice supply of them so I can launch a bunch of them in one go, because that's fun. And that's something to sort out later, because right now we need to go back to the main base and deal with a few things. And the main thing is that I'm guessing that the factory is in absolute crisis right now, because Cape Kerbal has a lot of demands, and they are almost certainly beyond what the main base is able to deal with. So I imagine that various different things are completely running out, the power's dying, and all sorts of horrible things are happening there. So we arrive back in the main rail loop, the more familiar territory. The loop within the loop, as I've noticed. This rail network actually has loops inside of loops inside of loops, because you've got the lake loop, and then the main loop on the west side of the lake, and then within that there's all the loops at all the junctions, so lots of extra Inception-y loopiness there. But anyway, back in the main base, we find that everything has indeed gone horribly wrong. Maybe not quite as much as I was imagining. I thought that there'd be absolute catastrophic crisis, but it's only minor crisis. The steel is absolutely terrible. There is not enough of it coming through whatsoever. The copper supply is ridiculously thin. I'm not sure whether that's to do with the supply of copper ore or the smelting rate. That is a problem that we have, in that we scaled down the number of smelters we had a very long time ago now, like a stupidly long time ago, when we shifted circuit production over to a separate outpost, and now it seems like the lack of copper furnaces is making things a little bit difficult for all the advanced circuits and things that need. There's a lot of things that need copper. I mean, a lot of it's just being delivered straight into the train. That is probably most of the problem, really, that half the copper supply is just being siphoned off for that, and it's probably not enough for the half of what it can normally be made is probably not enough for the main base or for the train, so I imagine everything is suffering a bit from that. Also, the power is ruined. The accumulators are running out before the sun has even finished setting, so we definitely need to do something about that. The only thing is, I went over to our solar panel accumulator production, and there weren't any there because they're used for satellites, and so they're all being delivered to the rocket train and being carted off to Cape Kerbal. So we'll have to try and intercept some of that, basically grab it before it can be offloaded onto the train and taken off into the distance. So there I go over to the chest to grab some of it, and we'll keep an eye on where the train is so that we can grab it just before it's about to be loaded onto the train, when the most of it will have been built up. So there I am checking the train's path. If we grab it all just as the train is about to leave, then it means that absolutely none of it has gone to Cape Kerbal, and all of it has gone into my inventory and can be used to actually sort out the power situation. The satellites can wait, they'll be fine. I think the limiting factor with them is actually the other stuff anyway, the rocket components. The low density structure is, I think, the one, and I think it uses the rocket fuel as well, or the other one, rocket control units, something like that, doesn't matter. But yeah, we can probably just steal what is being provided for the moment. I mean, eventually, if we just left it, then it would build up and then we'd be okay again, I think. But in the moment I want a sort of more quick solution to the problem, so I just grab what I can to go over to the solar field and expand it a little bit more. So plunk down as many squares as we're capable of, which is not that many, at the top here, and it really doesn't make a dent in it whatsoever. We had like enough for 3 squares and that was it, and that's like 1% more production? I don't know, it's not good enough, we need to work on that. Also, it looks like the supply of iron ore is not too good. That's probably something to do with the fact that Iron Outpost 2 is rapidly dying, if not already dead, and so we're now relying entirely on Iron Outpost 3. Look, there is some room for expansion there, but we want to be making an Iron Outpost 4 really to get a more long-term solution to that. So that's something to sort out. But yeah, I think the Mega Copper base is enough to deal with the copper supply. If there were any problems with the copper supply, it would be because of the throughput of the trains, rather than the mining rate of Mega Copper, I would imagine. Or maybe it would be like the belt throughput issues over at the outpost or whatever. But for the moment, I think that's okay. We'll check on that at some point, but I think that's fine. I think there is some more room for miners still there, though, just because I run out of modules every time I go up there, so I never actually get to finish building new ones. But anyway, we've just hopped up to one of our old stations there, up at well, it was Stone 1, but before that it was Copper 3. It's had multiple jobs in its time, and we're about to give it another one because I've decided to do something that, like, originally my intention was never to do. I'm going to set up some new steam engines, and the original plan for this place is that it would be entirely based on solar panels and accumulators, but the reason for that mostly was to avoid pollution and make it so we didn't have to deal with the biters so much. Not that that made much difference, we still have to go out and destroy them all the time, and in fact at the moment they are encroaching quite badly and starting to get into pollution range, which is not good, because none of my outposts have the defense for that really, apart from a couple of the outermost mining ones. So yeah, I've decided that I am going to put some steam engines in. Just one column for the moment, and we'll go from there. We'll see how much this fixes. I'm not sure what proportion of the power it will end up providing. I mean, I have a rough idea from seeing the backup power system running with the wood supply and stuff, because that's been kicking in every night, of course, because the power's been completely dying as soon as the sun has set. So this is, I think that column's been running at full speed. Not 100% sure on that, but I have a rough idea of how much we're going to get from this new column, and it's not a huge amount, but it will help. And also it will run constantly, which is half the problem. Like, the power is always running out during the night, so if we have something that runs in the day and the night, it will massively help to stop us having all the problems with that. I mean, we're really struggling for accumulators because, well, it's partially because I build them in big squares, so I could just build like half a square and it would work better that way, but I think we need a lot more for it to work properly. Or it might just be that we need more solar panels to keep the system running. We'll find out. This is partially a test. We'll put this in place. We'll see what that does for the power system, and then we'll maybe add more in. Maybe not. I'm not sure. We don't have to worry about pollution though, which is nice. We have such a large area that has no biters in it, like on the west shore of the lake, that we never have to worry about the pollution reaching biters unless we put stupid amounts of steam engines in place. Like, if we just swapped out all our solar panels for enough steam engines to keep the base running, then maybe the pollution would get across the lake to the biters over there, but it's unlikely. So we don't have to worry about pollution, and really we don't have to worry about the coal supply either, because we've got a massive coal deposit that we're barely using any of at the moment, and there's a couple more around. Now that we've been running for so long on just solar panels, we've ended up with loads of coal deposits around that we're just not making use of, while there's a bunch of iron and copper deposits that have been mined out, so we're having to go a lot further afield for those. So that shouldn't be a worry. I think we'll be okay. So I am going to go for this, and we'll see how it goes. Anyway, I've got the steam engines in place. Just one column for the moment, and now I'm putting in the unloading system to deliver the coal over. I'm putting in blue belts just in case we do expand it, because it'll be easier than doing it later, and I'll have to go get extra blue belts if I do it all at once. So I'm doing half of it now, and then if I need to, I'll do the other half later when I've got more blue belts handy. But anyway, while I was setting this up, I was looking for some old steam engines, and I was trying to remember if there were any, because I was sure that there was a chest somewhere that had a bunch of steam engines and boilers and stuff in it, but when I had a look around the factory, I just couldn't find it anywhere, and I'm trying to work out if I blew them up, or they're still hidden somewhere, or I used them somewhere, or if it's that like I only had like the one column that is now being used for the backup power. Maybe that was the only steam engines I ever had, but that seems weird. I feel like I would have got a little bit further with the steam before I switched to solar, but maybe I didn't. It's been a long time. It's been like 2 years, which is, yeah, that's a long time. So who knows what the situation is. I'll have to go back and have a look at that at some point. Anyway, we now make our way over to the coal outpost. We need to actually sort out the coal supply. It's not properly set up at the moment, and in fact, I have not done anything with this outpost since the previous update before the trains changed. So it's not even got the layout right for the insurgents and stuff. We're only having it being loaded at 5 points because that was actually, I think there was room for 7 points with the horizontal trains. I'm not sure, but anyway, the new system is that you can have 6 chests load into each cargo wagon. So I expanded a little bit to include 1 extra on here, and then we start putting in the loading on the other side, or for the other cargo wagon, because this is going to have 2 of them. And so far, all the trains that have come from this particular copper deposit have only had 1, because we've not needed that much. Did I say copper? I meant coal deposit. We've not had that much demand for coal anywhere really. We use it in plastic and in fueling trains, I guess. Is there anything else? That's pretty much it, I think. There's not really very much going on with that. I mean, we deliver it to to the midpoint and stuff, just so that we have a supply for loading the trains there and things, even though the trains at midpoint currently do nothing. That's the thing about the midpoint base, is that when I'm not there, it really doesn't actually do anything. The supplies build up and then it stops, and then it starts moving when I arrive. But it was very useful back when we were expanding out the rails around the lake, and we'll probably make use of it again when we go around putting in radars and stuff to keep a closer eye on the biters, seeing as they're being a bit mean and attacking our bases up there a little bit more. It's just because we've not cleared them out as far away as in the main base. I notice the circuit supply isn't going too great, but that's just the case for most supplies at the moment. Iron's running down there. You can see there's just a tiny bit on the end of the screen and it's gone. And yeah, half of our belts are empty, so the base is still really struggling, and fixing the power is only one of the ways that we can sort this out. It will mean that we don't have sudden shutdowns of production, but I think we'll still need more production generally to keep up the supplies of everything enough that the rocket train is fully fueled and everything else continues to operate normally. Fully loaded, the rocket train, it doesn't use all this material for fuel. I mean, it uses it for rocket fuel, I guess, but it doesn't fuel the train itself. So everything is set up now in the coal outpost, and we take the train back over to the steam outpost as it now is. I think I've just called it Steam 1 to check that everything is unloaded normally there. But we have everything set up, so this should now be fine. We should just be able to leave it as it is, and all will be good. There goes being unloaded onto the belts, and it'll go down to the steam engines. And later on we can check on how much the steam engines are contributing to the power situation and how much they are fixing things. I think things are starting to recover already in terms of the power, just because things have calmed down now. Stuff like materials are building up over in Cape Kerbal, which means they're building up in the train, then they're building up in the loading area on this end, which means that the production isn't having to run a full pelt anymore. I mean, some of it could just be that because of the lack of steel, it's meaning that less copper is required, because you need both of those for the low density structure, which means that that the copper starts to build up, and then there's less power consumption from that. But I'm not sure. But I think, as I remember, it was recovering nicely, and we were actually starting to get the accumulators lasting until the sun started to rise, which is an improvement at least. I mean, there was still a period where the power was at 20% before the solar panels were able to pick up the slack a bit more. But it's definitely helping, which is nice. There you go, you can see that the situation is improving, and you can see the steam engines having their effects. They're currently running, and the accumulators are almost fully charged there, and that's a very good sign. I'm not sure if they were fully charged the previous day, but if they weren't, then it means that this time it might be enough that we don't have any issues with the power through the night, which would be fantastic. I mean, everything's fixed, and we don't have to worry about adding in any more steam power or anything like that. And potentially we can phase out the steam power in future when we get more solar panels available. But anyway, now that that's sort of, well, one of the problems with the factory is fixed, I decide to sort out the biter issue. While we've been away, they once again advanced as they do, and so we just need to make the rounds and clear them away again. They got quite close this time, very, very close to some of the outposts, and I'm surprised that we didn't have any attacks. I think there was one attack on a radar outpost, but they're more normal really, so I don't count those so much. They didn't attack any of the mining bases, which is nice, because some of those don't have much in the way of defences. Particularly the ones in the south, because I don't usually expect attacks from the south, even though they're pretty much as likely as attacks from the west. So start running through, and this time I'm wearing the faster parachute. Usually I go for the heavier one, which makes me move slower, but means that I can tank pretty much everything the biters throw at me. But this time I decided to stick with the faster one, and what I've done to sort out my slightly squishier situation is to use some bots to help deal with some of the biters, so they'll help with the initial attack, and then they'll also clear away any behemoths at the end of the fight. That was always an annoying thing, well, that is always an annoying thing about the flamethrower, is that once you set a behemoth biter on fire, it will die, but it'll take ages to do it. So if you have some destroyer drones around, then they'll help with finishing it off, which is very convenient. Though I do notice as I'm fighting that the drones can actually be set on fire, which is a problem because that's the two methods I'm using. So, as it is, one of the ways I'm killing the bases is blowing up the other way I'm killing the bases. And so, as you can see here, I start messing about with this this sort of orbiting system, where I just like move around in a certain way so that the bots are always just spinning around at the edge of the like spawning range. The idea being that I can run into a base, set it on fire, and the bots will orbit, being able to shoot but not actually flying through the fire and getting themselves blown up. There's not that much point to the method. I don't think like with this particular system, I don't think they were being set on fire enough that they were actually blowing up before they just died anyway from running out of time or from being blown up by biters. Because like they're only on fire for a short amount of time, really. It's not like the entire time they're in existence they're on fire, because we're hopping between bases one to another, and there's plenty of downtime in between where they're not on fire, which is always nice. And so I don't think like the way things were working they were going to blow up, but I thought I'd just mess about with this, because why not while we're running around dealing with the biters. It gives me something to do while I'm running between the bases. I can just mess about with them orbiting, see how far out I can get them and stuff like that. It is basically like a bit of an orbital mechanic system, because it is just they constantly try and move towards you, but they have momentum, so they end up spinning around you if you move in a certain way. The only thing is that they're constantly decelerating because of, I don't know, air resistance or just how they're programmed. So you have to keep moving to make them continue to orbit you. See there, just as I'm running along, I just set off the orbit by momentarily doubling back, and then that starts them spinning around, and I just have to like move left to right as I run along, and that fixes it. But there's not much merit in doing this, because as soon as I arrive in a base, I slow down to use the flamethrower, and as soon as I slow down, the bots slow down, they gravitate towards me, and then they just stood where I am, being on fire as usual. Also, if I set an area next to me on fire, and then stand like not on top of it, then the bots just keep like swinging through the fire every time I swing them round. So I quickly realise that there's no real point to doing this, but I just do it anyway because it's fun. But anyway, we're working our way north. We've finished off clearing out the south. We're now travelling towards Iron Outpost 2, clearing out all the biter bases within radar range. Basically, that's the usual system. And once we're done with this, we should be okay for, I think, 2 or 3 episodes seems to be the number between it seems to be how often we have to come around and push them back before we start to have any trouble with them. I mean, they'll always be attacking like some of the radar outposts and stuff, but it's like, as long as we deal with them that often, they never actually get to any of the bases and stuff and start to cause any trouble there. So I'm failing massively with the orbiting system for a moment there, getting them very on fire before managing to fix it there, but again, there's not that much point to it. I mean, I might as well just run into the bases with the bots half the time and it's fine. Anyway, continuing on, I suddenly noticed there's a massive pollution cloud in the south because I set a forest on fire. That was actually deliberate, and I thought I might regret it when I did it, and now I am, because a huge number of trees have been destroyed, and it's going to mean pollution can get through the gap that it's made a lot quicker. Also, the pollution is there at the moment from the trees burning, which might attract a couple of biter bases along, but I don't think it's that wide-ranging. But yeah, there was a forest that I got stuck in for a second, so I set the tree in front of me on fire, which I don't think really helped because it took a minute for it to burn anyway, by which time I was past it. But I decided to just leave it. I was like, oh yeah, next time I go through, it'll be gone, so I'll be able to walk through it. But it was a bigger forest than I realised, so I ended up burning like multiple thousands of trees just by setting one random tree on fire. So, oops. Anyway, continuing on, we're arriving at our rails that lead off to Cape Kerbal around the lake, and I decided to go a little bit further to deal with some of the bases close to this because they might end up expanding northwards towards the line and stuff, so go a little bit further. But we're now starting to go over time a bit, so as soon as this is done, I'll make my way back to, well, it was going to be to the main base, but I decided that seeing as it was nearby, I just go back to Iron Outpost 2 instead. There we go, I think we finished there. Maybe there's one more, I don't know. We accidentally set a forest on fire there, but I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I grab some cluster grenades and make some fire breaks to stop that from spreading any further. And I go and check the pollution, it's now gone, so the forest fire is over, which is nice, and we'll hop in a random car and make our way over to Iron Outpost 2 to finish for today. And the next episode we'll do more fixing of the factory, I imagine, trying to sort out throughput and boost like speed module production and things like that. Also, it looks like Iron Outpost 2 is out of miners, so we'll have to deconstruct that as well, unfortunately. But with that, I shall say goodbye, thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.